good evening, everybody, and a happy early Thanksgiving wish from all of us here at the OH Report to you and yours out there, no matter where you are tuning in from. A very special holiday start to the season begins tonight, of course, and Thanksgiving week also means state final for football in the Buckeye State, which is why we are gathered here tonight talking about some foosballs. The final 28 teams still competing for 7 state championships have been narrowed down, and 4 partners of the OH Report are still competing amazingly right now in the tournament. Yeah, give it up from the front all the way to the back. So we're very excited to break down all the action from every single game that's going to be going down over the weekend coming up here tonight. I've got Travis Barty with me as well. Just a great appetizer, I think, for what's to come. Of course, Thanksgiving tomorrow, we get the NFL football. We get to hang out with friends and family. And then Friday night, boy, we've got a whole feast, a big buffet of football coming up.
Yeah, it's phenomenal the way where we've come. I mean, you and I really excited a couple years ago when Cary was playing in a Final Four, but we have 4 teams. 4! And we're assured of one team playing for a state championship. I mean, the winner of Hillsdale and Danville gets to go on to face Marion Local, but, I mean, we legit have a shot of maybe 3 teams playing on the final day of the regular season in their respective divisions. And I'm not just saying that as a fan of those teams, but just seeing what they're doing. We have some teams that have a legit shot of playing for state championships. Not 1, not 2, maybe 3.
Let's begin the show tonight with a team down in Dromesville practicing this week, Travis, for the first time in their program's history. And I had a chance to go over into Hillsdale Falcon Country yesterday, watching them prepare for the first time in program history for week number 15. Here's how things looked yesterday in Dromesville.
Whenever you get an opportunity to still be playing on the week of Thanksgiving, that's definitely a neat situation and one that we're definitely enjoying at this moment.
Yeah, it's really fun because nobody else has ever done that in school history, and just to be a part of it as this team and great team we have here is just pretty special.
It definitely does feel like a crazy ride. It feels awesome to be practicing on Thanksgiving. It's my first time ever practicing on Thanksgiving, and it just feels awesome.
9 straight victories for the Bobcats. They handle Hillsdale tonight on their own turf. A previously undefeated team falls here tonight in a big statement win for the WCAL crown.
Outside of that Malvern game, you guys have been pretty dominant so far in the playoffs. Do you feel like things clicked at the end of the year? Was Week 10 a big motivator? What would you attribute to this to?
After the Week 10 loss to Norway, it was one that I felt our players did a really good job of. They didn't let that loss define them. They regrouped and turned their focus to the playoffs, and they've been on a run as of late.
A lot of people said our line was not going to be that great, but the main reason we get off so many big plays and big passes is because of our line. They're just blocking so long for Hale to get him wide open throws for me or Holland or Brock or Jake.
I think our mindset is exactly what you want from a football team. Our defense knows every time they go out there what they need to do when they know we got a good offense, and if the ball's in our offense's hands, we're going to win a lot of games.
Because he's got no receivers over there. Trips right, Lewis rolls his right, throws up a Hail Mary. Here it is, folks, the game. Tipped in, caught, Hillsdale caught the ball. Hayden McFadden caught the ball. Hillsdale's second Hail Mary of the game wins the game. It is pandemonium on the field.
It was crazy. I think that night I had like 30-some DMs like right after the game on Instagram. On Snapchat, I had probably 20 people add me that I had no idea who they were.
After watching Hayden catch that ball, nothing really felt real at all.
It was definitely hard to sleep. It was so fun seeing my family and friends after that game. It was just amazing.
It was pretty cool seeing all the social media outlets that were reposting and everything, but ultimately we knew we couldn't live on that moment for too long, and we knew we had to get back to work.
Snap down, kick is away, and it's going to be short. No good. Danville
is going to survive. It's a final. Blue Devils win it 42-41 in a heck of a football game.
I've been waiting for this game ever since freshman year. We lost to them in the second round, and I've been waiting for this game ever since, and I feel like I'm pretty confident this year.
You always want to go up against great programs, and I feel Danville's one of the top small school programs, and get an opportunity to play them again, because the game down at Danville a couple years ago, that's one of the best high school games I've ever been a part of. Obviously, I would have enjoyed that game even more if we were able to come out with a win at the end there, but I think that that group that went down there in 2022 has also been a key contributor to our success this year, because they showed our players what it took to put it in the work, because they weren't an extremely talented group, but they were a group that showed up every day and worked hard, and a lot of our players on our team were on that team, and they've seen what it took to perform at a high level, and they've been able to transition that into this year, and it's been a lot of fun.
It's a revenge game, obviously, so we're going to get our revenge back for those seniors that their season ended in 2022, I believe it was. We're making it to state. We're not taking that for granted.
I definitely do think we're going to win just from how they play as a team. They mainly just run the ball and they pass sometimes. I think that we stopped Lucas well, we stopped Cuyahoga well, and they both ran the ball a ton. So I think just our inside guys and outside backers are really just going to have to work this week, and I think we'll be able to stop them quite well.
We just got to catch them in some coverages, and we just have to break down, because they're probably going to change their coverages a lot with our offense and try to catch us off guard. But we're hoping to get a few big plays, because if they're not in the right coverage, we got to take advantage of that.
Brotherhood is our mentality. We want to play one more week for each other. We're going to do whatever we need to do for each other. As a senior, they want to play more games for me. So they're going to do whatever they can for me to be able to play again.
What a season for Coach Klein and this club. And what I think is so cool about them is that you look at the roster from top to bottom and how many juniors complement the bulk of the big play capabilities. They've got a sophomore quarterback. They're probably even a year ahead of schedule from what they were all anticipating they'd be able to do, Travis. So this team, they've really impressed me. They've been one of the more dominant teams in the state so far in Division 7.
Yeah, and the only blemish was a Norwayne squad that, for a couple things that happened for Hillsdale early in the day, things like that. But, they're a really good team. They beat Doughton, who just fell to Kirtland last week in D6. They're just really rolling this year. And like we said, early in the season, you thought maybe, it would be a bit of a rebuilding process for these young players. But then Cale Lewis immediately started showing out. Owen Sloan, as he did in the last couple of years, also just going nuts. But then the receivers really started getting things going, especially Hayden McFadden, and they just kept getting better and better. And that Doughton game was a real indication that, hey, this may be the year for them. They might be a year ahead of schedule.
They've got just so many big play weapons on the offense, and their sophomore quarterback, everybody that I got a chance to talk to yesterday really complimented the way that he just handles himself. He's got a great big arm, of course, and it just seems like he's got command out there. He's a younger. I think that Hillsdale's going to really be a tough out for the Danville Blue Devils when they on Friday night, but
yeah,
the full complement of the different duos that they have, and you're seeing guys like, Holland Young has had a breakout senior season. Brock Bowers has had 5 TDs. That guy right there should be in the conversation for, the offensive player of the year in the region. I know he didn't get it, but Hayden McFadden, him and Owen Sloan, they've combined for 50 touchdowns, bro, and a lot of them
50.
Big, long plays.
Yeah, McFadden over 1,200 yards receiving, even as a rushing touchdown. But, yeah, Sloan, 1,456 rushing yards, 29 rushing touchdowns. Cale Lewis, over 2,500 yards passing and 30 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions. I mean, this team, they're rolling, but we're not even talking about the defense either. The defense has been stout this season as well. Brady Heller leads the way, 120 tackles. He has a sack, 3 forced fumbles. Fumble recovery for a touchdown. Aiden Hoffman, 114 tackles. Trevathan, 87. Sloan, 67. So they have multiple guys that will go right at you and take you down. Brady Critchbaum, the stud basketball player. He has
Yeah.
7 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, and 56 tackles. So not only we always talk about the offensive side of things, but this defense is really, really good. And that's what Danville's going to have to go up against. A lot of guys that are not afraid to get into the box and make a tackle, especially against that Danville running game. That might pose some problems for them.
Let's talk now about those Danville Blue Devils. The opponent coming up for Hillsdale on Friday night. Dude, they have absolutely just been crushing everybody on their schedule so far
Since
here.
the Northmor game.
Over the last 2 months, they have not been challenged yet. Jonathan Langdon, he was down on Tough Street yesterday to have some conversations with Coach Bloom and the boys and see how they've been able to get the ball rolling in the fashion that they have right now.
You know, what made this group special is, started off 3-2, didn't play well in a few of those games. But these kids really decided to get back to work after our Week 5 loss at Northmor. They looked themselves in the mirrors and decided that we needed to be better all around, and they went to work.
We just have to do our job and do the little things right. Can't make mistakes, can't have turnovers, just be smart with the football, and, do what we know we can do best.
I mean, it makes me feel pretty good. I mean, the goal for me every game is to be in every tackle possible. I want to be on every tackle.
I honestly think we're very similar programs, in my opinion. They play in a tough conference. They like us. Very close proximity between both communities. So, hopefully we both can have really good crowds on Friday night at Shelby. And this is what high school football is about. So just really excited for the experience for both of our communities and our kids. And hopefully we can give a good game.
I think very similar to what we've seen with Hillsdale for this Blue Devils team. There's been a build-up here to this point. 3 consecutive regional championship games for Coach Bloom since he took over, and they've had some heartbreak. We were a part of a couple of them, right there on the doorstep. They've been running through the competition so far this year. So this is a team that has been playing inspired, Travis. Their closest game each of the last 2 weeks, 40-6 the final score. They beat an undefeated Eastern team and then slapped Miller around by that same contest. You're running clocking everybody on your way to the state Final Four. This is a dangerous team, even though you feel like the competition probably isn't what Hillsdale's had to face so far, but it doesn't matter. They've taken care of the teams on their schedule.
You want to talk about KMAC and running clocks? The Northmor Golden Knights, we'll talk about them a little bit. Same thing.
on.
2 KMAC squads, though, that are just steamrolling through the competition, but it's between the 2 running backs that Jonathan Langdon has named Boom and Zoom that has taken off at Danville at Tough Street. But Aiden Burke and Siren Wallace have just run over people. You got the Boom right there in Burke, but then Siren Wallace, especially the second half of the year, showing that finesse, showing that speed. It's just a very complimentary 1-2 punch for a Danville squad that likes to pound you into the ground, and that's what they've been doing. But it's not 21, 28 points because they're running clock and things. They're scoring at bay. And since the Northmor game, in which A.J. Bauer threw all over them, they kind of reset in that secondary too. A Centerburg team that was really good passing, they shut them down. A couple of the teams, in the playoffs that they faced were good passing teams. What did they do? They shut them down as well. So it kind of was a reset. You have to look at the Danville team from the second half of the season rather than the first half to see what team Hillsdale will be facing here on Friday night, because, Hillsdale, they have that balance. They have the big playmakers, but this is Danville. This is that tough football. That's why they call it Tough Street. That's why they are the Tough Street boys.
Real.
Because they will pound you and they will wear you down, and that's something you got to look for. If they can continue to pound on the offensive and defensive line against Hillsdale, get a little movement there, it's going to come down to that fourth quarter like you see with Danville, and it might come down to like we saw a couple years ago in that phenomenal regional quarterfinal game between Hillsdale and Danville at Tough Street.
And defensively is what I really like about them, of
Oh,
course.
yeah.
They've only allowed 46 points since that Northmor game. That's 9 games, folks. Okay,
Yeah.
you can do the math there on your own. A lot of shutouts in there, and so far during the tournament, 6 points, 6 points, 2 points, and a goose egg so far. All the competition that they've played, and they've only given up 1 score or less in each of these matchups so far, Travis. And the defensive player of the year.
I was about to say
district.
exactly. Josh Byers, 191 tackles, 75 solo, 8.5 sacks, 16 tackles for loss, a pick, and a forced fumble. we've been seeing that guy every year. Danville has that guy at linebacker that's usually defensive player of the year in the district, and they have it with Josh Byers. But don't count out Caleb Lucas on the defensive line either.
Monster.
123 tackles, 77 solo, 11.5 sacks, 29 tackles for loss. So those two themselves, you got to get a nickname for them. Just I don't know the Bash Brothers,
Jonathan.
the Bash Brothers,
Come on,
something
baby.
like that, because both of those players, 20 total sacks combined between them. 45 tackles for loss, 2 fumble recoveries, a forced fumble, and an interception. I mean, you get, especially when they get lined up with each other as well, you can't block them both.
Nah,
I mean,
that's why offenses are going backwards
Yeah.
when they're playing against Danville right now. So something's got to give, because you look at Hillsdale, and so far during the tournament, they're averaging better than 44 points per game at this point in the competition. A lot of the Falcons players that I talked to, we mentioned the defensive side of the ball and how capable they've been. They like the matchup against Danville. They're not very multiple. They'll throw it a couple of times a game, but they like to line up and run. We've played teams like Lucas. We just knocked off Cuyahoga Heights, no problem, and all they like to do is ground and pound you. So if you're looking at this in a vacuum, Hillsdale feels like they have a great opportunity to win the game because of that, and then Danville, for the exact same reasons, will say, yeah, but good luck stopping it.
Exactly.
So I think they both feel like what they're bringing to the equation in that particular part of the game is why they're going to be victorious. It makes it a whole lot of fun coming up here on Friday.
Yeah, and you see Lucas, bit of a down year for the Cubs. Cuyahoga Heights, but this is Danville football. It's been played throughout all these linemen, they get ready. They want to ground and pound. These other teams, they had to do it because it was a game plan. This is Danville, Hillsdale saying we expect this. Danville's like, okay, like you said, bring it, because we're going to continue to wear you down. It's literally who has the most stamina in the fourth quarter of this game. Could be. We're looking at a couple of the sites here do their spreads. Think what it is. This is the closest spread of any of the state semifinals. I think it's less than 3 points right here. It could be a toss up if Danville gets the ball. If they slow things down a little bit, play some K-Mac running football, get that first touchdown, maybe get a stop here. It just depends on what the pace will be. Then Hillsdale, they can just score just like that with their big playmakers. But we'll see whose pace will this be played at, especially early on. That will determine who's going to have the upper hand.
And on Friday night, you can listen to the game live. We'll also have video coverage, pregame, halftime, postgame from Shelby High School, one of the great small school venues that we have in all of North Central Ohio. And then we'll restream it. Once the game is over, you can watch the full video broadcast. There's no need to waste your $10.99 or whatever on the Spectrum stream, even if it gets out. So just make sure that you listen. Show up to the game first.
Go to the game and watch it over.
Come on. And then watch it back later on the OH Report.
Listen to Brian Skoronsky on the call while you're sitting there in the
Actually, wouldn't even be me. We got Zach Truax is on the call along with Jonathan Langdon. So we've had
we have both
the voice
Danville,
of Hillsdale combining with the voice of Danville. I'm going to be on the sideline. I'll have some reports coming up.
Okay.
And then, of course, I'm going to be running camera, too, getting you some juicy shots up in the huddles and all those type of things. So we've got, I want to say, one of our A crews out there all combined in multiple cameras shoot. It's going to be a ton of fun Friday at Shelby. Be there.
Do we know who's the home team? We had I've seen conversations in the Facebook and everything about that, because the Whippet Athletic Conference, one of the best complexes we have in this area.
Yes.
The away stands a little bit small.
Much smaller.
Might be a lot more. If it's Hillsdale, either side. Whoever's the away team, it's going to be spillover. There might be some fans on the other side of the stands and things like that.
Did you see what it looked like 2 years ago down at Danville? How many people were sprinkled around the outside? Expect that at the Whippet Athletic Complex coming up on Friday night.
Our good friends in the concession stands at Shelby, get ready. You're going to have a lot of sales coming up on Friday night.
Big time. So the winner of that game, of course, will move on. So we are going to be at
we're
the state
going
championship.
We're going to state.
They're either going to be playing Marion Local, 14-0, or Columbus Grove, 14-0.
Number one and number two in the state. Yeah.
Really love that one. However, of course, we've seen the Flyers, I think 60 straight wins for them. It's a state record at this point.
I think their closest game was that state championship with Lucas, 28-7.
It's been crazy.
It's
been crazy to watch what they've been able to do. And I can't remember how many consecutive state championships they've won, but it's a lot. So it would be a monumental upset if Columbus Grove, who dropped down from D6 from last year, they were a state Final Four team last year, but if they were able to knock them off, they did beat Cary last year, knock them off on their way into the Final Four. But Travis, there are 2 K-Mac teams still participating right now in week number 15. Break it down for us, buddy. What's going down over at the castle right now?
Oh, the Golden Knights going to be practicing first of all, any fans of the Golden Knights, if you want to go down to the Castle at 8 a.m. tomorrow, it's an open practice for Thanksgiving. Coach Armros said, we want this to be a bit of a special thing because not often do teams get to practice on Thanksgiving. I've said this so many times. 2 things as a football player you want to do in high school. You want to play for a state championship, and you want to be practicing on Thanksgiving more, an actual turkey bowl where they're having something like that. So any alumni from the football team from 2017 when Coach Armros and his squad took over until last year, they want you there on the sidelines, on the field with the players. Fans pack the stands there. They want you there as well. And then afterwards, they're going to do a little bit of a photo op before they go in to do the rest of their stuff. But it's a special time at the Castle.
And if I may, real fast, I believe that both Danville and Hillsdale are doing something similar tomorrow.
They should.
So check their social media pages.
Yes.
They also will have some fans coming out for a turkey bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not often do you get to play in a spot like this.
You
got to take advantage of it. I mean, instead of being all tightened up and just continue to play, let the whole community come out, let everything happen. So that's pretty cool. But I did go to practice yesterday at Northmor, and this team is competent. Look at what they have done this year. Steamrolling through their opponents. They've only given up 20 points defensively throughout the tournament, and that's against 2 state-ranked squads in the last 2 weeks in Ridgewood and Grandview Heights. I was, like I said, at Northmor practice yesterday, got to talk to a few of the seniors as well as Scott Armros of the Golden Knights, and here's what they had to say.
The Northmor Golden Knights have won the Division 6 Region 23 championship. For the first time in program history, they will go to the state Final Four.
When you're playing your best football at this point in the season, that's when teams make runs, and I think that's what we're doing right now. And it feels like when we need somebody to make a play, we have somebody that makes it. So players make plays when needed, and that's why we are still winning.
It's been getting great looks from our scout team and working really hard in practice and watching a lot of film and just playing our game and not getting too nervous.
What do you guys need to do on Friday night to compete and have a chance to maybe win and play for a state championship?
We just need to play our game and play to the best of our ability and just execute.
Yeah, we're playing physical up front, but we got to pride ourselves in playing physical in the secondary. At receiver too, blocking on the edge, doing what we can every play. Do our jobs, and we'll be fun.
We just need to play our game, stay even killed the whole time. Don't let them get to us. There's going to be stuff going back and forth. Just stay even kill.
I think it's just mindset, stay process driven and make no mistakes. Our practices have been really well lately, and we've stayed locked in all practice, and it was just the repetitiveness and the rep. We've been getting really good reps.
So like it says right there at the end of the highlight, Ken Parrott and I, the 1A/B squad with Jonathan Truex, will be on the call live on an audio cast, and then right after around 10 o'clock, we will have the full game, everything, all the bells and whistles that we usually give you on the OH Report for free. So once again, I know there were some people trying to get into Blade Tackett's Twitter about Spectrum being on there. Keep from the box cast or whatever it is. You just listen to Ken and I. If you do want to turn on Spectrum, at least mute it. I mean, you want to hear, you want your ears blown out by how loud Ken and I are. I know there are people in Massillon that are saying they don't even have to go to the game because they can just listen to me and Ken from the press box screaming. But that's how excited we get about Northmor football, and that's how excited, Brian, we get about this passing attack. A.J. Bauer, 2,800 passing yards. He's 148 of 204, a 72.5 completion percentage. Now, we were looking at some of these Mr. Ohio candidates. By the way, shout out Bogdan Miller as a finalist.
We'll get there.
But I was looking at those quarterback passing percentage, 62% completion percentage, 63% completion percentage, 2,400 yards passing.
Decent.
A.J. Bauer, 2,800 yards passing, 37 touchdowns, only 4 picks. He is averaging exactly 200 yards per game in 14 games. And also rushing, he doesn't rush the ball, but he's only at -8 yards, and that's with sack yards as well.
Right.
Talk about him. We talk about he's the offensive player of the year, D6 in the Central District. But then he throws to a man named Jack Swenger, who's missed 3 games, but he still was a first-team district player. 47 catches, 1,110 yards, 16 touchdowns. And then the kid at the end of one of the quiet kids, that was one of my first interviews with him. Big play, Bo Landon. Yeah. 32 catches, 761 yards, 8 touchdowns. Somehow he was honorable mention all district. don't get me into that about how many Northmor Golden Knights got. Yeah, travesty from Travis. How many Golden Knights got snubbed out of the district voting, but I'm not going to get into that. But they have so many playmakers, passing attack-wise, that could be the key in this one. If the line can hold against Kirtland, they have some great linebackers. They have a great defensive line. But if A.J. Bauer can get a second or two, I will take the three wide receivers as well as Cohen Becker in the slot against that Kirtland defensive secondary. And that's why I believe Northmore's got a good shot.
Because they've got a 3-year starter right there running the signals. He's in command of the ship. A.J. Bauer, he's a very humble kid. He's not overly braggadocious, and just it just feels like people kind of like that he's just going about his business, and he's been putting up some big-time numbers. That's why he's the Offensive Player of the Year down in this district.
And his best friends are his wide receivers. This senior class has known each other since the 6th grade, and we'll have a hype out on Friday morning, and they talk about that a little bit more. But these kids have been playing. It's what you see. We saw it with the Cary State Championship team. It was these kids that have been best friends that have played since Pee Wee football. This is the same situation with Northmor, and that's the perfect storm when you have to go up against number 1 in the power in Kirtland.
Yeah, they're going against a historically great, other than Marion Local, this is the other small school power in the state of Ohio, and they're going up against a team that doesn't even have a city. They're from a township, folks. It is amazing that they have been able to put together the type of weapons that they have. Let's show you what they did in their region this year, in region number 23. They just exploded through the competition. Wasn't even a challenge for them. Ridgewood gave them a 2-score game, but other than that, I was very impressed when they took on the number 1 seed this last Friday, and they slapped Grandview Heights around 37-6. The big play, that defensive play that's been getting all those tens of thousands of views right now across our social media platforms. That's been awesome. But you look at the Golden Knights so far during this tournament run, we talked about all the athletes that they have on the perimeter, and they do. We talked about the gunslinger that they have in the backfield. Of course, A.J. Bauer is that dude. But it's the defense, Mr. Berardi.
Oh, yeah.
How about a shutout to start things off, and then they only gave up one score each of the last 3 weeks.
And only one of those touchdowns really was when the game was still, in it. It was 14-0 against Ridgewood. Ridgewood scores, but then they immediately go down and score to make it the 21-7. Yeah. Other than that, the defense. This is one big play that turned things around. The goal line stand against a running attack that was going right down the field, and then the other play with Grandview Heights that you said, that play, it's coming up here shortly, that play that has thousands of views where I don't know what the quarterback was doing. Poor kid just wanted to try and do something, but against 4 Golden Knights, it wasn't happening. It's because of 2 guys on the defensive end. You'll see it here. One get a terrible cutback block who is it? It's Ashton Clark. Yes, and Ashton Clark, and then the other one, Cam Goldbach. Ashton Clark blindside there, but guess what? His good buddy Cam Goldbach on the other side finishes things out. Those 2 are just kind of like the 2 from Danville that we just talked about. Cam Goldbach, 103 tackles, 22 tackles for loss, 10 sacks. Here's the big play against Grandview Heights. And then Ashton Clark, 104 tackles, 20 tackles for loss, and 8 sacks. So there's 18 combined from the 2 DNs, 42 tackles for loss, 107 total tackles, 3 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, and a touchdown by those guys.
Yeah.
This
by the way, they're scoring on defense.
Yeah, they are. And then just, they're forcing big turnovers when the game is still, it's still being determined. Multiple times in these games. The Centerburg game, we saw what happened in the regular season. Centerburg nearly pulled off the win. Then they meet again at the Castle, and it was just
not the same.
Not the same. It's both sides, everybody. And even the punting game, I don't have highlights of it, but in the game, in the regional championship, Carson Campbell pinned Grandview Heights inside the 1-yard line, not once, but twice. It led to one safety that ended up turning on the running clock. But every single aspect of this team is firing on all cylinders right now, and you need that to happen if you want to have a chance against number 1.
And why I think they do is because of that defense. You look at the first matchup they had against Centerburg, and they allowed 26 points. Every other game combined, Travis, and that's 13 total games, 73 on the season. It's not just that they've been dominant so far during the postseason. They've been consistently taking care of business week in, week out. And so we both kind of feel the same way.
Yeah.
That coming up this week against number 1, you can't overlook them. Certainly they're going to be a big underdog. But let's take a look at the Division 6 Final Four and see what lies ahead here for those Golden Knights. Of course, it's the Kirtland Hornets. They're undefeated. They are the defending state champions. And on the other side, too, Coldwater, they've only got 1 loss. That to Marion Local. Bluffton's 13-1 too. So 14-0, 14-0. Just 2 losses between these 4 teams.
Yeah, all state ranked. Number 1 and number 2 are on the opposite sides, but then you have the Northmor Golden Knights as well. This defense we talked about, they've only given up 1,453 rushing yards, 1,385 pass yards. Now, Kirtland's more of a running team this year. They haven't passed the ball too much because their quarterback, their main quarterback, has been out with a broken arm.
I think he just came back last
Laverty
week.
just came in and played a little bit, but he's playing to where he's trying not to get hit on there. So I don't think he's going to be starting as the quarterback. But their quarterback that they have replacing is a running quarterback. So you think with the secondary that Northmor has, they will be trying to stack the box against Kirtland and stopping that run game and getting the ball back to that high-powered offense that if you can give A.J. Bauer just a couple seconds, he's not afraid to take a hit. He's not afraid to step up in the pocket. You can give him a couple seconds and get it downfield to one of those big play receivers. That's the key to this game.
So Travis already mentioned to you, you can listen to the game live and free. He and the Parrot will be on the call. That will be on our Facebook along with our YouTube channel 4, and then a full video broadcast of the game. Once it is over, we'll get it up ASAP streaming. That way, if the Golden Knights are indeed victorious, you can relive it right away, taking you into the weekend. Now, Travis, as we move on now to Division 5, we can't be spoiled enough to have a team in our own backyard competing in every single portion of the brackets here.
We got to give some other parts of the state some love too.
It's only fair, and we don't really have any D5s in our area. Norwayne's like the only one that I think would be like fringe.
Fredericktown made it in there,
we got
yeah.
the Freddies. But these are the teams that have qualified this year. Liberty Center, they're still undefeated. They're going to be taking on South Range, also at 14-0. That game's going to go down at Parma Byers Field. Ironton's 13-1. They get West Liberty Salem, also 13-1. That's going to be at Chillicothe. And the state championship game goes down on Saturday for the 2 victors that would march on from this one. But you recognize a lot of those names up there, and these are teams that are traditional powerhouses in whatever division they're competing for that season. So this is another fun bracket when you looked at the previous couple that we just had, like, you know, the outsiders with Hillsdale breaking in there. You know, it's been a few years for Danville, but they're in there. Northmore's never been into a Final Four before. That's not the case here for D5.
No.
All these teams have kind of been to this point in the season a bunch.
Yeah, Ironton is a power back in the eastern part of the state where, you know, they are always in there. They have a big following. They're kind of like a Maslin following, a Garraway following, things like that. And just to see, you know, you see them all over social media going nuts. But that's probably one of the favorites to win that Division 5 state championship right there. Other than that, I really don't know much about any of those other teams because they haven't played any of our squads. But Ironton, that's one of those names that you think has a chance of making it.
So if you're wanting to watch any of those games, Spectrum does have a live stream going down for every single state
if you
Final
want to pay.
Four game in the state. You just have to watch it and throw in your credit card information. But Travis, we nearly had 5 teams competing in the state Final Four
So close.
coming up this weekend because the Ontario Warriors, they put up one hell of a fight last Friday up at Tiffin Columbian.
Nearly a brilliant comeback, too.
They were this close to knocking off one of the best teams in the state in the Perkins Pirates. And here it was, man. Ontario came out. This was another confident team. They certainly felt like, and if you get a chance to, check out the video that we posted on the OH report from inside the locker room and the coaches talking to the team before the game. They did not think that they were up against it. Matter of fact, their coaching staff was saying, yeah, Perkins is a favorite tonight, but that's just because they haven't played you. They don't know what it's like to go up against the big O.
Belief.
And then they come out, and on the first snap of the game, they fumble. Perkins, 2 plays later, they're into the end zone. A couple other plays later on offense, I think they only had 5 offensive snaps. They're up 14-0, and you're like, okay, this team's state ranked in the top 3 for a reason, and they're awesome on defense.
But were they not just down 3 scores the week before against Shelby?
They were indeed pulled off a 22-point comeback against the Whippets, and with Bob Penn Miller diving into the end zone, things get a little bit tighter here. A Mr. Football candidate making his case as he dives into the end zone. And the defense, too, they started stepping up. And this is where I felt like things started to change a little bit, Travis, just about the way that you were thinking about the game. Bob Penn and the boys, had they been able to get some points, I think, before the break and then went in and it was a score game or a tied game, I felt like it could have been a little bit different. But Mr. Isaac Bunce, this dude, so slippery, so fast, and one of the top rushing threats in the entire state of Ohio, over 2,200 yards. He was the hammer on this night. That was his third rushing touchdown of the game. But you think Bob Penn and the boys are out of it just yet? Oh, no way.
No.
Bob Penn with the second rushing touchdown. They slimmed down the deficit now to 21-14, and they would come all the way. It was actually 21-13. They had the PAT blocked, so they would end up getting the next touchdown by a freshman, too, after this onside kick, and that's Cooper Kilgore, who had the onside
Beautifully
kick.
executed.
Remember the name, Warrior Nation, like you didn't know it already. This dude's going to be a big-time running back. He's obviously a great kicker. He's a leader for them as well as like a 14-year-old. You can tell people gravitate towards him, so I feel like that's going to be the next great player in Ontario, this vaunted freshman class. Everybody was out in attendance that night. The O-Zone was having a great time, feeling themselves, thought the comeback was going to be in session because it was. Here's Kilgore to the outside. Look at this run. He's a freshman into the end zone. All of a sudden, they get the 2-point conversion, and it was tied, Travis, and you really felt like
Momentum, Ontario.
Maybe the sports gods just favor others, but maybe they just favor this guy. Isaac Bunce, the game-sealing run. He sets it up. He'll later get into the end zone just 2 plays later. And Sandusky Perkins would indeed knock off Ontario, but it was one of the
Not knock off, but
that I've
escape
seen.
Ontario.
And you mentioned Northmor in the punting game and how much of a difference that's made for them. At the end of this game, Ontario's defense actually got a stop. And if it wasn't for a punter blistering one and setting Ontario down inside their own 5-yard line, all the momentum was in the Warriors' favor. And then with that Bunce touchdown run, this was the last offensive snap for the Warriors. They came away with the possession, and that's why Perkins is marching on into the state Final Four. So we do want to salute them. They've had one of the best defensive teams in the entire state of Ohio the entire year. Ontario against them still put up 280 yards. That's one of the top against any of their 14 opponents this year. Bob Penn Miller, 9 of 20 in his final start. 92 pass yards, and he had 20 carries for 66 yards and 2 scores. But you look at the entire season here for Mr. Miller, and that's why he caught the eye of all the voters out there, and he is a Mr. Football finalist from our own backyard. Way to go, Bob Penn Miller. This dude's awesome. I love his charisma. I like the way he plays, his toughness, his burst. There's so much great energy that just permeates out of this guy, number 8. He's a premier weapon, and that's why he's up for the biggest award in the state that only one Richland County player has ever won. That Cade Stover about 4 or 5 years ago. Sets the single-season program record for rush yards along with passing yards plus touchdowns. Oh, how about completion percentage, too? He's the career rushing leader, the career passing leader, over 10,000 combined yards for Bob Penn Miller during his career. He also scored over 100 touchdowns. No player in Ontario history has been able to do any of the things that I just said. So we're definitely going to miss watching him play on Friday nights, but we get the treat of watching him play on Saturdays and not too far away from home.
Almost, he's about 20 yards away from being a 2,000 yard player.
Crazy.
I mean, that's
just in overtime.
Now, you and I, we get ourselves a Mr. Football vote. Can't say who it is. We're not allowed to. We won't tell you who it will be. But look, just comparing him to other players from D1 to D7, he has the best statistics.
Yes.
I know you go, okay, well, they played D1, they played these other teams. He has 1,600 yards passing and 500 yards rushing. But look at his defensive stats, too. He complete. That's why we call him the athlete here. This is, I honestly think if he doesn't finish at least top 3, then I think some voters need to really reevaluate what they're doing as voters of this whole
Way
thing.
better numbers and productivity than Cade Stover had when he won it in Richland County a few years back.
Yeah.
Not the same on defense that Cade had, so I guess I shouldn't say that, but offensively, it kind of blows him out of the water. So he definitely has a shot, and the fact that voters really like it when you're committed to a big-time program. They like it even better when you're committed to one that's right here in the Buckeye State. So I really do think that pairs well for Bodpen to receive a lot of points, not just here in our area, but the entire voter catalog around the state of Ohio.
He's definitely deserving of being a finalist. Now, if I may for a second, Braden DeVito, son, you played one hell of a season as well, and I wish there was a rule where you could get 2 from the same district, the same region, because he's well-deserving, absolutely well-deserving. But folks out there that are outraged about this, do not point this at Bogpen Miller. He did not put himself in as a finalist. It was the voters. It was things like that. If you want to rip into us, don't. Just keep it to yourself. But if you want to go after us, do not go after Bogpen Miller for being out DeVito. DeVito also willing and should be worthy of a Mr. Football finalist. It's just the way the rules are right now, you can't get 2 from the same area, I guess. Both are, and hopefully, Braden, you still got one more year. Hopefully this is a chip on your shoulder to where you do even better things next year so we can be talking about you. So first of all, congratulations, Mr. DeVito. You had one hell of a season, but also congratulations, Bogpen Miller. You also worthy of being a finalist in Mr. Football, and you got my vote, buddy.
It's just incredibly rare that you would have 2 teams, or 2 players rather, from the same county that had the type of statistics that they did, because Bodpen, the athlete, he never comes off the field, also punts for them. He's out there. He literally is on the field every single play.
That fake punt against Pleasant, one of the top plays that we've had all year, and it probably will make your 12 plays of Christmas or whatever you have coming up here, but he does it all. That's why he's the athlete. I said the athlete in the Phenom nominees all throughout the year, because he can do everything.
Yeah, but
he also serves up the water when he's on the sidelines to everybody. Like he does it all.
He serves up the prayers in the locker room. Yeah. I mean, that man is a do-it-everything kind of guy.
He served us wings at B-Dubs back in the day, too, because he worked there. Great worker as well.
What can't he do?
Right?
But yeah, you're absolutely right in bringing up Braden DeVito's
name.
No, over 60 total touchdowns. His stats from top to bottom better than Miller's in every category. So I understand why people out there would compare them, and also had a head-to-head win over Bodpen. But then Bodpen in the tournament ended up getting the win and the big comeback.
Just don't go after the kids. Go after the people that put them in there. Maybe not terribly. Don't cuss us out or anything like that. I wish we had votes to get them in there. We would have had both, but just don't go after the kids. They're just out there playing football. That's all I'm asking for you. It's Thanksgiving. Be happy.
Yeah, be thankful. Here's the 4 teams that are still competing right now in Division 4. You already know Sandusky Perkins. They punched their ticket. Yep. They are going to be in there. They get to take on the defending champions, the 2-time defending champs, I do believe, in Cleveland, Glenville. That's going to be at Clyde, one of my favorite stadiums to go taking a game at. Cincinnati Taft is on the other side. They're taking on Indian Valley.
Another Mr. Football finalist, one of their running backs who might have gotten one of my votes as well, has just been phenomenal. He knocked off St. Clairsville, that was the team that defeated Norwayne. Very good football program back in the Ohio Valley, but they just ran all over them with that running back. So Taft's got themselves a test going up against some Mr. O football finalists.
And they're going to play that at historic Cruz Stadium. Yeah. That's a dope venue for a football game. So those are the 4 games coming up, or the 4 teams rather. They're going to be competing in the Final 4 in Division 4. And again, I'll let you know that you can watch those games on Spectrum live, but not free. Let's move on now to Division 3, Travis.
Yep.
And we'll check out the state semifinal pairings there, where, again, these are going to be some of the blue blooders, at least a couple of them. The 2-time defending state champions.
Out of the Detroit Christian League.
Still alive for a 3rd in a row. That is Toledo Central Catholic. They're going to be taking on Youngstown Ursuline. So 2 teams. I do think that's a really cool matchup. They're from the opposite sides of the world here in terms of the state of Ohio. Youngstown, about as far east as you can get. Toledo basically is Michigan.
I'm calling this the shipping off the Boston Bowl. Anybody get it? It's flogging Molly Irish. Yeah.
Nah,
okay. Anyway.
Bishop Watterson, they're undefeated. They get to take out another 14-0 team. So I love those juicy pairings when it's like, hey, somebody's getting a loss today, and then somebody's season is going to be in infamy moving on to a state championship. That's London and Bishop Watterson. They're going to be playing at Tees Valley High School, Viking Stadium, and then the state championship for that Friday afternoon, 3 p.m. the following Friday.
Bishop Watterson knocked off Steubenville convincingly last week in a regional championship. So you beat a team like Steubenville with state ranked, you're going to come in with some high hopes in there. But yeah, the Irish versus the Irish. That's who has the better 4-leaf clover in that one? We don't know.
Find out coming up on Friday night. And as we kind of change the chapter here and talk about Division II, this is one of the rare cases where actually the defending state champion is no longer available in the tournament. If you Google
because of some
search
Golden
Washington
Eagles
State Final Four, you're not going to find it right now.
Nah.
Because our big Walnut Golden Eagles got it done right here in our own backyard, too. That was pretty cool here in Mansfield. They've played them a couple other times here of late. The Tigers got the upper hand in the other two meetings, and now it's Big Walnut's turn. They're in the state Final Four coming up on Friday night. And Bryce Coder was over at practice yesterday down in Delaware County. Here is what the head coach and also some members of the Eagles had to say about their big win over Massillon, Washington, and still competing in Week 15.
Hi.
So we're going to hear from Bryce, though, yeah?
The Northmor Golden Knights. The snap, handed off to Burley. Burley fights forward. Golden Eagles win in overtime. They win by 1 on a 2-point conversion in overtime. Are you kidding me?
The resilience they have, you know, when we went into overtime against Westville North, you know, they didn't flinch. When we had against Westville South, it was the last drive and we had to stop them. You know, it's just like nothing phases them. Last week against Massillon, you know, it's just, you know, that's special to see that how mentally tough they are. And even against Westland, we were down against Westland at halftime 21-7, and in the locker room, it was like, hey, we got this, coach, we're good. And, you know, I even told him, I said, hey, we need to get a stop, we need to get a score. First drive, we got a turnover. The next play, we scored. And then, you know, it's just the way these guys fight, it's something special.
And diming their way downfield now inside the 25-yard line. As a throw out towards the outside, they find Aiden West all the way into the end zone for a touchdown.
I think it's just the love that we all have for each other. You know, our class's mantra has been Band of Brothers, which is the same one they had back in 2007, Band of Brothers. And so we stick together through whatever. And, you know, Coach Krager said all year we don't flinch. And I think that in big games, we love each other, we care about each other enough to keep fighting.
And the kids just started to believe even more and more. And it's been a neat experience to see how much belief they have in one another and the faith that they have in one another. And like I think Aiden West just said, they really do love each other. And I tell them all the time, the most powerful thing in this world is love. And that shows up. It's been showing up in this whole year, but especially last Friday, it was pretty neat.
We are coming to you from Arlen Field at Mansfield Senior High School. And for Region 7, it all comes down to this region championship here between the Big Walnut Golden Eagles and the Massillon Washington Tigers.
I think don't be satisfied. Like, yeah, we beat a good team, and obviously we still have to, like, celebrate it, but we got to get through it and go to the next one and just don't be content with where we're at. Finish the job, I guess.
They're good. They got a good tight end who I think has a lot of offers, and then they have another good receiver that they like to throw too. We're going to do the same thing we do every week. We're going to stay on our divider, stay disciplined, stay on track, and let the play come to us, and not overread anything or jump anything stupid. I think a lot of it is just belief. You know, our whole team's bought in. And, you know, we're all working together. Our offense has been able to take a lot of time up this year in long drives. We've had 20-play drives, 10-minute drives. So I think just eating away at that clock has made it a lot easier to come out on top. I think a lot of people are new to varsity, so it's like we don't really care about stats at all. You know, some teams care about how many offers people have or how many stats people have. I don't think anyone on this team cares about that. All we care about is winning the game and playing hard every single play.
Ball game is over if they're able to make the tackle. And indeed, it is. This ball game is over. The Golden Eagles win. They win this one 14-7 over the Massillon Washington Tigers. An absolute heartbreak for the Tigers, but glory for the Golden Eagles.
So, Brian, remember before. First, shout out Bryce Coder. Big Walnut Bryce. You know, I'm K-Mac Trav. He's Big Walnut Bryce. But remember, before the last, we previewed the regional championship games, I said I was in Massillon territory, and they said they had the Tiger fries. I said, I will have the Golden Eagle fries. I'm going to go back and order those again because they are still playing, baby. This team is good. I mean, we didn't know. It's Massillon, Washington. We thought maybe they'd keep it close, but a guy named Nolan Burley his team on his shoulders once again. I mean, I've known him. He was a chart topper on the roundup over the spring. Really good baseball player as a freshman, and then he comes in here and he's playing like a senior. I mean, some of these runs that we showed that you and I are just gawking over right now. He's put this team on his back, and all these younger players as well. They not only this year, they may be a force for the next couple of years.
How about him, Hatfield, and Eli Stumpf? Their three most important offensive weapons. Sophomore. Yeah. They're all babies, man. And they're in a state Final Four already. So you never want to overlook and think, hey, but next year is going to be our year or whatever. Like, they're living for the now. Yeah. And I was so impressed with what they were able to do against Massillon Washington, just because I read about how many guys they had along the defensive and offensive line that have either Division I college commits and or are getting looks and are going to probably be playing at the Division I level. And up front, Big Walnut's not that big. They're pretty average-sized dudes.
They're average
but
Walnut.
It didn't matter. They were able to not get their nuts cracked there, Travis, and they're moving on, man. Amazing what they were able to do, holding Washington as well to just 7 points.
Yeah. Can we say also the OCC, the other OCC, the Ohio Capital Conference, pretty darn good conference to get you guys ready for that run. I mean, the coach champs out of that after losing in week 1, what they were able to do to some really good teams in the Columbus area.
Champs?
Outright champs. My apologies, Big Walnut fans, but what they were able to do to some really good Columbus area schools. They beat Perry as well in the playoffs, which was, that's a team that Massillon's seen on the season as well. But this is a really good team, and I'm happy that they've reached out to us last year to get on, because we're finally able to bring their fans some good football. And we got in at the right time.
Yeah, let's show you their Region 7 bracket and what the Eagles were able to do and how they are getting into a position where they're competing in the state Final Four coming up this weekend. You know about the 14-7 win over Massillon, Washington. They beat the Ashland Arrows 28-10 the week before that against Perry, 35-24. That was one of their biggest tests of the season. You saw also the walk-off win that they had in overtime on that highlight against Westerville North. Things like that. And then the 34-33 win on Week 10 against Westland, that's what really galvanizes a team and makes you feel like you can beat anybody at any given time. And I hear the conversation this morning, honestly, on First Take about the Chiefs, and are they in trouble because they're winning and they're not winning by a lot? I think
they're
actually
in
those
are
the
Day
things
in Pittsburgh, but other than
that you want to do as a team. So big kudos to them bouncing back. They get shut out on opening night against Bishop Watterson, who's still playing right now. They're undefeated at 14-0. Since then, have not lost and look like a state championship contender. And we'll show you the Division II state semifinal bracket now. The boys from Sunbury, they got a test coming up. They're going to Dayton, and they're taking on Cincinnati Anderson. Mr. Anderson is still undefeated at 14-0. If they are able to survive that one, they'll either get undefeated Avon or Archbishop Hoban,
who played in the state championship last year, lost 7-2 to a team they beat, though. You beat Massillon, you can play with anybody. I mean, it's just that confidence. Exactly.
And you heard from some of the kids there in the interviews with Big Walnut Bryce is that they feel that way now. They're like, we didn't know. Now I think we know. And they're so young.
Yeah.
What an exciting time right now to be a Big Walnut fan. And the Eagles, one of the last 4 teams remaining in the second biggest division in all of the state of Ohio.
That's pretty darn good. That's pretty darn cool for this squad.
Let's show you the big boys, though, shall we?
Yeah,
let's
absolutely.
Check out D1. Here's what's still remaining, the Final Four teams in Division I, the state Final Four, and you probably recognize a lot of these
a
names,
5-loss St. Edward's squad playing in there. How were they able to do it?
Oh, what a shock, right? They're going to be taking on Olentangy Liberty.
Mr. Football finalist in Ohio led quarterback there for Olentangy Liberty.
That's going down in Richland County at historic Arlen Field here. So if you're looking to go check out some big boy football on Friday night, head over to Arlen if you can get a ticket. And then Archbishop Moeller, they're taking on Centerville. The boys
AJ
from Cincinnati,
Hawks, alumni of Centerville.
13-1.
Yeah.
Centerville, 11-3 on the season. They're going to be going head-to-head at Cincinnati Princeton. So you look at those 4 teams, and it's
shout out Joe Roberts at Princeton getting a big game.
Well, have you seen that stadium?
Oh, it's beautiful. I was down there. Remember, I was down there for Northmor's baseball, right by it. It's a very. They're actually. I think they just got like $10 million to revamp it too.
So Joe Roberts at fundraising like never
absolutely.
before. Like,
That's what he
like
does.
always.
That's what
Yeah,
he
we
does.
went there for a soccer thing for my daughter, and we got to see the stadium.
Beautiful place.
Glorious. So that's what's going on in Division 1 coming up on Friday night. Travis, what an exciting weekend that we have coming up, and it's more obviously than just football. That's the big cherry on top, and
Tomorrow.
the fact that we have all these teams that are still competing. But Thanksgiving, everybody, you already know what it's about, and if you don't, let me school you on the game a little bit. Friends, family, love, all combining, and truly just being grateful for the opportunity that we have just as living beings and being able to have just the power and invoking that spirit together. I really hope that everybody has an opportunity to feel that, to get that, and to share some laughs, to share some food, and just be around people that genuinely care about you. Travis will be taking some country roads as soon as we get off the air here. He's heading home to see his family, and then I've got my little crew here in Ohio, and just really grateful for a chance to be able to, hang out and just have fellowship in a gathering around the table. And of course, football in the background doesn't hurt.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be making a quick stop in Massillon as well because a friend of mine, Julie Lovelace, it's her birthday tonight, so happy birthday, Julie. But going back home. I mean, you said it perfectly, but you also forgot to mention Turkey Bowl. Not only for our teams practicing, but I mean, did you ever partake in a turkey bowl in the morning of a Thanksgiving back in the day?
Yes, I did. I participated in a couple of them. The most recent has been about 12 years ago. We got together over at one of the elementary schools in Madison, and it was pretty physical. I got to say that it took me about 3-4 days to get past it. No pads, of course. We're just out there. We were all kind of like in our late 20s or early 20s, and a couple people were really playing for keeps that day. And
that's what
I was on the victorious end. Shout out. I'm trying to think. One of the bar boys really had a great day that day. Had almost all the touchdowns. But it is fun to get together in the backyard and kind of relive some
Everybody's
glory
home
days.
for the holiday, to the Thanksgiving and Christmas. I mean, tonight is usually that night where the bar scene. Everybody drinks a lot of waters. A lot of waters, soft drinks, things like that. Everybody meets and does that. So this is one of the busiest nights of the year for those areas out there. But everybody's home. You get back with your friends before everybody goes off to their houses to eat the turkey and sit on the couch and watch football all day, eat the pumpkin pie, watch Christmas Vacation at the end of the night, like I always do, things like that. But it's just it's a great, like you said, a perfect day for family and friends to get together and give thanks to each other and everybody. Like I give thanks to you for giving me an opportunity to work here at this great institution that is the OH Report.
So whatever your traditions are tomorrow, make sure that you embody them to the fullest and make sure that you get the fullest that you absolutely can. Unless you're a wrestler, you got to make weight probably coming up this weekend, and I'm really sorry, but you probably got to give about half of your roll over to cousin, and then that pumpkin pie. Probably just let it sit where it is.
There's ways that they could eat and just work it out there. We're not going to talk about it on the air because it's just not nice.
Not a good idea.
Not a good idea. But still, sorry guys, but hey, if they end up winning state championships, it's all be worth it.
There you go. You can save up for that. But from us and everybody at the OH Report, we do wish you the most happiest of Thanksgivings and the official kickoff to the holiday season. It is here, so take in every single moment of it, just like I know all these athletes in our own backyard that are still playing in the Final Four are going to enjoy every single second. So enjoy your turkey bowls tomorrow, guys. Enjoy the football, and then we'll see you Friday night live and free anywhere internet can be.
And we'll see you in about 20 minutes for basketball.
Jonathan Langdon's going to be on the call down on the reservation. So the tip-off to the boys basketball season on the OH Report. Highland at Mount Gilead next.